Mbappé and Haaland are going goal for goal at this tournament, while Messi made his big debut as well against Algeria, didn't he? How did the defending champions fare? How did Messi fare? Well, welcome to day 6 of the World Cup Daily Recap. I'm Adrian. Thank you for joining me on a day where we will see the final 2 groups in action. Wow, it's about time. It's only been 6 days since this thing started. Anyway, I appreciate you joining me here for our morning meetup. Great to see you again. And hey, if you want to join us every day to hear what happened the day before, why not subscribe? World Cup Kylian, different beast, man. Well, at least in the second half, because like the rest of France, terrible against Senegal in that first half. They couldn't connect their through balls. They were passing to Senegal players. And on top of that, Senegal were playing fairly well. They had an answer to everything defensively. They were absolutely doing their part in this match. Going forward, they looked strong as well in that first half. Jackson with a creative flick to play Sarr through at one point, but Upamecano recovered and defended well. Then it was Jackson's turn to get through on goal, motored away from his former Bayern teammate Upamecano before hitting nice strike low at the near post, but it hit said post, hit Mignan in the legs, and managed to stay out. Close call. Many a goalkeeper have had those hit their backside and go in. Not Magic Mike in this instance. They'd have another close call, this time the ball bouncing through France's box, coming to Ismaila Sarr on the edge of the 6, and he managed to just divert it over the bar. A shame, as everything would become far more difficult in that second half for Senegal. But before that, it was shocking just how bad Kylian Mbappé was. He wasn't good at taking people on, he was misplacing every pass, he wasn't able to control the ball. He looked a shadow of the player he used to be and had us all questioning if this would be a long World Cup for Kiki. But Deschamps decided to stop with the terror ball and moved Olise centrally, swapping him with Dembele, who was tucked behind Mbappé in the first half. That made a huge difference for France, actually, because it made a huge difference for Olise as it brought him into the game way more. And when you do that, that's good for your team. Unfortunately, it didn't do much for Dembele, who... it wasn't his best game. I love the guy, but when I saw him go off for Barcola later in the second half, me and the rest of the chat were like, oh yeah, Dembele was out there? Really? He was a ghost in the second half. And we saw the Olise-Mbappé link-up begin to take shape. There was one killer through ball that Olise played for Mbappé, but he failed to get a touch on it again. But in the 66th, Mbappé decided to forego taking a first touch and hit a pass from Olise first time across the goal. That made it 1-0. That was a stinker-saving goal, as he was dropping a 2 out of 10 at that point. 16 minutes later, and Barcola was played through with a wicked ball from Rabiot. He took one touch, then scooped it over Mendy for 2-0, game over, right? Because Barcola's PSG teammate Ibrahim Mbaye sent Theo Hernandez for a hot dog by sitting him down, then blasted the ball past Mignan for 2-1. Short-lived, however, as literally a minute later Mbappé collected the ball, smashed it from a good 25 yards out for a golazo. France 3, Senegal 1. That saved Mbappe's performance. Different complexion now, as he has passed Fontaine's record for the most goals scored for France at the World Cup with 14. He's passed Giroud as well as France's all-time top scorer with 58, and he's just 3 away from beating Miroslav Klose's record of 16 goals. It's just his 3rd World Cup. That's pretty good. Anything Kylian can do, Haaland can do too. Norway kicked off against Iraq a few hours later. Norway's first World Cup match in 28 years. Iraq's Lions of Mesopotamia, their first in 40 years. And while the Iraqis fought hard and at times really troubled Norway, they scored after all. Norway were far, far above them in this match. And this Norwegian team, goals come to them fairly easily, just as they did in qualifying when they scored more than any other UEFA nation. Nusa was doing his thing down that left flank where he was shifty and tricky and fast. The huge Norwegians were a problem from set pieces, and while it took about half an hour, Müller-Wülf hit a low driven cross to the back post that Haaland slid to direct into the goal for 1-0, his first World Cup goal in his first World Cup game, scoring on his debut in a competition. As he loves to do that, he scored a hat-trick in his Champions League debut and his Bundesliga debut as well. He scored a brace in his Premier League debut, and yes, he scored a brace here as well. Not before Ayman Hussein would convert a nice header past Nyland for 1-1. Really love his story. I did mention it before in the past, but his father was killed by Al-Qaeda, sadly. His brother was kidnapped and has vanished. These are the kind of circumstances that he was up against, this kind of insane reality, and he fought his way up, now scoring against Norway in the World Cup. It really is a nice story. Sad one, but nice. But as sentimental and gorgeous as these narratives are, there's still a game to be won, and the Norwegians showed again how easily goals come to them, like how Haaland's second came to him, put on a plate. He didn't bother celebrating it as it was a silly one. In the second half, Norway added 2 more. Østegård with a towering header 3 minutes after he had come on, and then an own goal. Had Thorsvedt got that goal, it would have been an assist for Haaland as well. So a top performance from him and his teammates. Those goals will be important in the group. Argentina taking on Algeria in Kansas. Algeria notably with Lucas Zidane in goal. Forgot about that dude. Messi, in starting this game, became the first player to appear in 6 World Cups, and he had the ball in the net 4 minutes into this game, but he was a little bit offside. There were questions about his condition coming into this World Cup, but he was moving fairly well behind Lautaro Martinez. Nice finish for the goal too. Well, the goal that didn't count. Shaibi also scored a great goal to seemingly put Algeria ahead, but he too was offside, so holes in both defenses there, at least early on. But this was a night destined to Lionel Messi breaking that record on his 200th cap and in the 17th minute smashing the ball in. That was his 14th goal, equal to Mbappé, 2 behind Klose. There were moments here and there where it seemed as though Argentina could double their lead in the first half, but they were always just a step off with their passing, just out of reach, just blocked by a defender, what have you. And in the second half, it happened once again. Lionel Messi jumping onto the rebound from Alexis McAllister's strike and poking it past the keeper, Lucas Zidane, who was putting on a poor display, unfortunately. The first goal he conceded, he kind of flapped at Messi's strike, and there never should have been a rebound here. But keeper bashing aside, no more keeper bashing. Messi's second goal to take him up to being the second highest goal scorer in World Cup history, 1 goal higher than Mbappé now, and the guy nearly got his hat-trick shortly after, but Zidane didn't palm it into his own goal. He got it over the bar. Messi really looked spry out there, didn't he? Oldest player to score a World Cup brace. Now, I haven't spoken much of Algeria because there wasn't much to speak of. Romero and Lisandro Martinez were excellent together, cutting out chances before they could materialize, and even though Algeria and Argentina's possession was relatively similar, Algeria couldn't get a shot on target. 7 attempts, 0 on target in the whole match. Messi, he had no issues with that. Algeria's defense was all over the place whenever Argentina would counter. A simple pass wide to Gonzalez, Gonzalez back to Messi, and of course he picked out that bottom corner for his hat-trick. We've seen him do it before. 16 World Cup goals, level with Klose. Unbelievable, but also not. Like, as he was scoring the goals, it wasn't a surprise in the slightest because we've seen him do this over and over and over. And with the space he was afforded by Algeria's defense, and with Zidane struggling in goal, with his precision and his power on his strike there, it was always going in. And like, what do you even say anymore? You know, he came on as a sub in 2006 against Serbia and Montenegro. He assisted Crespo and scored a goal himself, his first in a World Cup competition. 20 years later to the day, and he scores his first hat-trick, becoming the oldest player to score a World Cup hat-trick, taking that record from Cristiano Ronaldo. Someone who I know who actually loves Cristiano Ronaldo, or at least loves the choice his club made in spending a fortune on him, Dan Riccio. And he's covering Austria versus Jordan.
Right, yeah, the signing that would eventually break my beloved old lady. Thank you for that reminder, Adrian. But you know what? Unless you want to be here all day, I'm just going to leave that where it is. And we'll see what Cristiano Ronaldo has in store for us later today when Portugal get their tournament started against Congo. But looking back at Tuesday night's finisher, Austria and Jordan. Austria, one of the impressive European qualifiers, an informed team coming into this tournament. Ralf Rangnick has completely turned this program around over the last few years. While Jordan, this being their first ever World Cup, they came into the match as heavy underdogs against Austria. But as we've seen all tournament long, this was another one of those fiercely competitive matches that went back and forth. Austria would get the first goal of the match. A well-worked team move is finished off by Romano Schmid. A beautiful curling effort into the far post, and it's 1-0. It would remain that way through the end of the first 45 minutes, but Jordan did have their chances. Moussa Altamari was the architect of many of them in transition, but it wasn't until the second half that they would get their breakthrough. And it would come from their leading scorer in qualifying. Ali Alwan taking the ball down the left, curls one into the far post, off the far post, and into the net. A brilliant goal, a memorable goal, and for Jordan football, a legendary goal, their first ever at the World Cup. Into the 67th minute and a corner kick for Austria. Their set pieces had been dangerous for much of the night. This one comes in, it rattles around in the box. Eventually, it's finished by Marko Arnautovic for 2-1, or so we thought. It would be taken back by VAR because of a handball in the buildup, and so it remained 1-1. Only for a few minutes, though. Another corner kick. Marcel Sabitzer takes it, and it goes in off the back of Al Aber. The Jordan defender had been brilliant all night, and he gets the own goal that would eventually be the winning goal of the game. Sometimes football can just be so cruel. Austria up 2-1, and they would continue to push for a third. They weren't done there. Deep into injury time, they get another counterattacking chance, and a handball in the box. VAR determines a handball in the box for Jordan, and so Marko Arnautovic steps up for the penalty, making it 3-1 just before full time, and that's how this one would finish. Austria clearly thinking that goal difference might play a factor in this group moving forward. We'll have to see how that plays out. And Jordan can be really pleased with their fighting spirit and their compete in this game, even if they did come up short. I'll see you all later today when we preview all of Wednesday's matches on the 90th Minute Daily at noon. Take us home, Adrian.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate you as always. And I appreciate you for watching. So thank you guys. Head over to the 90th Minute, linked below for their daily coverage to get you primed for the day. But other than that, I will see you right here tomorrow. Take care, guys.